All right, now that we're all set up here, didn't take too long. I'll start. So, my background, my name is Rock Whitby. I'll be presenting today. So, I've been at Creo Power Systems now for about 6.5 years. Been doing CAD there as well. So, I design generators that go behind your house up to generators that are formatted. So, small, big, everything in between. Along this process, I've been going back to school for my bachelor's in engineering, about 2 years away for that. I love my job, and what I'm coming here today is basically for Creo Piping. So I started using Creo Piping about, 2 years ago, when I just saw that using datum curves and the style curves were great. It's just they didn't really get any accuracy that I wanted. So basically what I'm going to go through today is an outline here. So we're going to talk about Creo Piping, all the different things you can do with it. We're going to talk about the style curve, which is basically what I used previously, and most of our company actually uses as well. I would actually say that's more of like a servicing tool that's most beneficial. But it's a tool nonetheless. And we'll go through like an accuracy and show like basically we routed all these hoses and we did 2 different styles in the case. This is more accurate, it takes less time. And we'll talk about line stock, which is basically like a raw material type of thing. Advantages, and then turning on your duties, and hopefully I can get into some demonstrations. So I'm going to try to really just push through all this so I can get to the demonstration for you guys. So what is Creo Piping? Creo Piping is a software that you can use where basically like you open a catalog for you could use just say flexible like a hose from gate, or Parker has hoses, they have OD on there, thickness, generally pen radius, stuff like that. You can pull all that information into the Creo Piping here and route hoses. You can also do it for hard lines. So there's a lot of different types of routing mechanisms, things that you can do in this what's called spec-driven design, which is a lot of library components. Non-spec-driven design, which is what I'm going to mostly be talking about today, because I find it most useful for new users that haven't done this before. And then schematic-driven design, which is where everyone kind of wants to be. It's more like a building design. So you think about a building, you got all these things everywhere in the building. If you really want to get to the 3D environment of that, you start with 2D paper and you kind of, okay, here's my layout of the schematic, and from that, you use that data and you create models from it. Oops. Let's go back. Okay, so what we did before Creo Piping was what's called the style curve. But basically what the style curve is it's just like a tool that you would use like a datum curve. Much more manipulative with the datum curve. You can do complex geometry suites, which you can't do with Creo Piping. And that's probably one of the greatest use cases for it, is the complex geometry. Like for example, just that ducting material up there. Say you want to change that OD relation along the suite. You can do that with just using a style curve or a datum curve. And you can still do measurements with the bend. You can do an analysis tool and do a min bend radius. In Creo Piping, there's actually it prompts you and it says, hey, you're above the min bend radius. So we have to change some things up. So in my company we had probably like maybe 6 to 10 users, I think. Where we all routed hoses as style curves. And here are the examples of what we routed. So we have basically on the left we have a fill line The two centers are vent lines, and the one on the right is also a fill line. So this is also a radiator on a genset. So left and right, they're passaging water, and the center ones are just air. They're two different types of hoses. But at the end of the day, this is in general what is needed from a flexible piping standpoint. So in this, there's clamps in there on the left. There's clamps on the right. There's one clamp for each in the center there. And then there's some rub points right where you may have to apply like a fixed length from the clamp up to the top. So all that being said, there's tons of ways you can route this. So this is basically like a little video walkthrough here of what's going on. So on my left, we got a video of a user doing Creo Piping, and on the right, which is a little smaller, is somebody that's doing the setup. Now, in our business, I'm not sure how much you use skeletons and external copy jam and all that stuff, but our general practice is to always grab that information and use copy jam if we're going to go to a part. So on the right, I'm still trying to set up all my copy jam for my spouter, which I have to bring in from the assembly. And on the left, all my geometry is already there in the assembly, so I can just go right ahead and start routing, which is kind of nice from it's less things you have to go with from A to B.
When you see the copy geometry, you're talking about your routing points from your where you're starting the phase.
Yes.
To your support point.
Yep.
To your end point.
Yep. No, yeah, you're exactly right there. So I guess just from just looking at this here, so on the left, the user right now, what he's actually doing is he's offsetting what's the sheet metal piece so that he can put a point in space to basically align that hose to where it should be. And if you have noticed on the right, the guy, that person's just starting to route the spouter. So, and what's interesting about it is he's already to the point where, I mean, he's got everything done. So he basically took his model and went up. And now he added this point in, and now he's going to route through and put that point in his pipeline. And now he's all done. So like from start to finish, the whole thing took less than, let's just exit out of the PowerPoint here so I can look at the time. So this is taken almost 2 minutes 30 seconds. This guy over here, from start to finish, is about 9 minutes. So it's a significant time savings from that aspect. And so now what we're looking at is basically the length of the hose. So this is like the production intent hose. So like when all said and done, basically there's 2 part numbers, and we're routing them 4 different ways. 2 of the part numbers are at 5,000, and the other part numbers are at 8,000. So with that being said, here's kind of a data collection from all the users. So just looking on the left here, the graph, what we're looking at is a collection of data from around 10 users of here's people routing styles, or here's people routing piping. And it's almost a third of the time that it took to route. So that's significant time saving. And this is just user defined. We're not getting in the spec library components and all that stuff. And then on the right, what we're looking at is basically from that production intent length, so 5,000, 8,000, we have a variation in length in both of the different sizes. So Creo Piping, it's still varying about 42 millimeters. And the south curve is varying from that length more than about 60 on average throughout all the users. So it's a little bit better on average, but what's cool about it is the advantage is now of going back to that model and establishing some fixed length to get it down to 0. So I briefly talked about it, what line stock is. So here's kind of the GUI that pops up when you try to establish the line stock. And basically from this, you got all these different poses that you want to route. So this is all the information. You put OD in, you put thickness, you put bend radius, all this information generally you get from like Parker and all that. So what are the advantages? Obviously, min bend radius is a good one because you don't want to get hose and kink. And to do that with like a style curve and with a datum curve, like I'm sure there's a few advanced users that could do that with like an analysis tool and maybe some relations and stuff like that. But that's a lot of playing around and a lot of work where the software here is available and it's easy input. I guess the other things here, the type check tool, it comes up with a prompt and shows you, hey, these are the things wrong with your pipe. So if you're, I guess it's more, if you're at an enterprise or something, eventually if you want to put it in like, say, model check, all those things they're parameters that are designated parameters. So you could probably set something up to say, hey, let's check these parts to make sure that there's nothing wrong with them. And a really cool one is the max segment length. So if you have like a design spec for your company, and you say, hey, I want to raw hose and I want a clamp every 2 feet. What it's looking at is from one point to that next point, what's my length? Is it above a foot? If it's above a foot, then okay, it's going to tell you that. So if it's like 255 instead of 254 millimeters, it'll show you that. Now, a millimeter, I mean, that's your judgment. It's not going to stop you from designing. It's just going to give you more information. So, if you guys are really interested in it, this right here, if you want to get into it and just play around with it, there's tons of videos. There's videos out there. There's really not that many actually on just doing hoses per se, but there's a lot more on like building design and stuff like that. So, I mean, this is like a big file you got to put in, and then the map key is something that I'll get into a little bit later here and show you guys what that is. So PTC University has a module out there, Creo Piping. Definitely strongly recommend taking this. It helps, especially new users when you're just starting out. And if anybody got the presentation here, or just come to me afterwards, I'll take the business card and I can send this information out to you guys. But this is basically like, if you got a university account, this is how you search for it and find the piping information. So, now that we kind of went through it, let's jump right into our walkthrough here. So if you guys can't tell, this is a little bit familiar from the pictures in the presentation, except they don't have all the hoses around it. But I got 2 hoses here, and they're going from this module here up to basically, well, these are injectors, but and all it's doing is just passing fluid from A to B. And the material is, I believe they're PA12, so it's like it's basically like a plastic. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start from scratch and just create a model. So let's do create new and test run. In our standard, what we usually do is do a default constraint for pipes. And then what I'm actually going to do is I have skeletons here, and just for the sake of time, I'm going to take this skeleton and reuse it on this. It has all the information from this model here that I can route a new pipe from. So let's assemble. Generally, at least at Power Systems, we like to keep our skeletons separate for each model, just from the sake of potential circular reference. But I'm going to be extra careful today. So what we're going to do here is let's route from this point here, and let's go through up here and all the way. Let's just go down to this guy. Okay, so right here, we'd be better off to put a 90-degree fitting. So I'm going to copy this 90-degree fitting from that guy and paste it in. And one thing that I don't know if people have, this is actually something I just figured out as well. So if you do like working in assemblies a lot, I strongly recommend taking a look at some of the config files. So like, for example, I have this interface here, and I just have two constraints for Quincy on this, and then Quincy this face. But I can't select this other guy. I only can select the skeleton in this model. So that's a config setting, and I can share that if anybody's interested in it, because it helps in some cases where you just route a hose and you grab a reference from a different skeleton in another model. Now you got some issues, and you got to make sure you don't do that. So I'll rotate this one right there. And then let's put this other guy. And these are actually free fittings, so they will rotate. Okay, so now I have my two fittings in there. So let's go to Applications, Piping. And what I'll do is I have some line stock here, what I was talking about earlier, raw material. And the other part, so I'll do is do line stock, read, and I save that file to my directory, so I can grab that. And once you put it in, it's like a material. Oops, and actually I'm not activated in here. So let's delete this. Another reason, we'll just open this and make it easier. Okay, so we'll go to Applications, Piping, set up line stock, we'll read that. And now what we want to do is actually route a pipe. So we're going to create a pipe, and we'll name it session1. There may be, this is where naming convention stuff for some companies, like you might want to name that correct. But so for here, we'll do set start point. And if you're really trying to do like more of a library eventually, if you're trying to get to a library standpoint, You're always best to start and end with coordinates. So in these models, I have coordinates already applied with points on them. So I'll start on this coordinate.